First item is call to order, roll call, establishment of quorum, and chair introduction. Good morning. The time is 9:05 a.m. I call to order the May 15th, 2025 meeting of the Licensing Committee. I'm Jim Ruane, Licensing Committee Chair. Please note that committee members Steve Panelli and Mary Teichert have excused absences. Only board members who are members of the Licensing Committee may participate in this committee meeting. Other board members who are in attendance may observe but cannot ask questions or participate in the discussion. Committee members, please leave your cameras on during the meeting. When you would like to comment during the meeting, please select the raise your hand icon in the WebEx application. I will call on committee members to speak, and when called upon, please unmute yourself, and when finished, return to mute. Public Affairs Supervisor David Gower is our host and moderator today. Next item is roll call. Robin, can you please call roll and establish a quorum?
Jim Ruane.
Here.
Joël Barton.
Here.
Alan Guy.
Here.
Henry Nutt.
Here.
Steve Panelli has an excused absence. Mary Tucker has an excused absence. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Robin. I'd like you to join me, first of all, in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. CSLB staff participating in today's meeting include Registrar David Vogt, Licensing Chief Carol Gagnon, Public Affairs Chief Catherine White, and Executive Office Staff Robin Williams, who will be taking roll. Public Affairs Manager David Gower is off-site moderating this WebEx meeting. Are there any public members in the Sacramento location that we need to mention? Doesn't look like it. I think we're okay. In addition, we're fortunate to have with us DCA Board Counsel John Kinn. Today's meeting will provide the committee some updates on important licensing division strategic plan items and priorities. Because this teleconference committee meeting is fully remote, committee members cannot make recommendations or motions. However, committee members can gather information, receive comments, and discuss among themselves what will be included in the summary report of the meeting that will be available to the full board at the June 13th board meeting. Our next item is B, public comment for items not on this agenda and future agenda items requests. Next is agenda item B, our public comment section. This item is provided for public comment pertaining to items not on this agenda. To allow this committee enough time to conduct its full schedule of business, I will be limiting public comments to 3 minutes each. Please note that state law prohibits committee members from discussing any matter brought up during public comment. We are also not allowed to act on any item not on this agenda. If you want the committee to discuss a topic not on this agenda, you can ask us to consider placing that issue on the agenda of a future meeting. If you have an application, complaint, or disciplinary charges pending before the board, we ask that you not discuss the details of your case or pending complaint. Committee members are not permitted to receive evidence or information that is not part of the administrative record in the case. If your comments are related to a specific agenda item, you can make your comments now, but you may want to wait until that item comes up for discussion. We will ask for public comment before acting on any item. David, please check to see if there are any members of the public who wish to address the committee or to offer an agenda item for a future meeting.
Not at this time.
Thank you. Do any committee members have an item they would like to place on a future meeting agenda? Okay. We will now move to our next agenda item, which is C, Licensing and Testing Strategic Plan Update. This committee meeting will address 4 of the 6 licensing and testing strategic plan items. 1.1, explore and address language barriers to licensing and testing. 1.3, develop regulations to require licensed contractors to complete continuing education pursuant to existing complaint disciplinary authority. 1.5, assess exam content and update as necessary to ensure exams are current with industry standards. And 1.6, identify and educate licensees on the need to maintain current certifications to promote proper installations. Item 1, under this, explore and address language barriers to licensing and testing. I will now ask Licensing Chief Carol Gagnon to comment on the current status and the next steps for addressing for addressing language barriers in licensing and testing. Carol?
Thank you, Jim. CSLB currently provides the following items in languages other than English. Staff have put their primary focus on Spanish translations because there have historically always been many more requests for Spanish translations for exams, more requests from consumers and from licensees than any other language. Our exam study guides and 10 of our most popular exams are offered in Spanish. We host a Get Licensed to Build workshop in Spanish once a month for people interested in licensure. We also have staff at CSLB who are certified to translate written documents into Spanish and a contract through DCA to translate larger documents and exam item banks. Some of CSLB's enforcement and public affairs documents have already been translated into Spanish and other languages and are available on our website. I will now turn it over to Catherine, our public affairs chief, to discuss some of these now.
Yes, so some of the items that we have include our terms of agreement publication. That's actually one of the publications we most recently got translated into Spanish. We realized it hadn't been, and so we used a translation contract like Carol mentioned and got it translated and posted on the website, and we printed it to be provided to consumers. But most of our other publications are in Spanish, including what seniors should know, what you should know before hiring a contractor, 10 tips. A lot of our really big consumer publications are in Spanish. And one thing we are learning in time too is that there are other languages that are important to different regions of the state. So with our disaster response, we have translated our debris removal fast facts also into, in addition to Spanish, into Tagalog, into Chinese, a couple other languages as well. And so we're continuing to find more and more publications that need to be updated and are updating them.
Thank you, Catherine. In addition, in the last month, staff have translated into Spanish our translator letter and form for candidates who are requesting a translator for their exam. They also translated the paragraphs that we use to respond to exam appeals for candidates and the instructions for our original exam application. These are going to be added to the website in the next few months after they are remediated. Slide 7, please. Yep. So our next recommendations for the future are to do the following. Survey new applicants each month as part of our applicant survey to determine what other languages should be addressed. Identify more exams that could be translated into Spanish. Identify additional documents and forms that could also be translated into Spanish, and pursue an additional bilingual position in EDU to work on more Spanish exams. Do the committee members have any ideas for additional exam translation or prioritization? Committee members, any ideas? If not, you can always email me later.
All right. Thank you very much, Carol and Catherine. Are there any comments from committee members? Okay, seeing none. David, please check to see if there, I'm sorry,
Joe. I actually have a question.
Sure.
With just with the do we have an opportunity to, I guess, basically understand how the new translations are working for the consumers? Are we going to do a survey and kind of do a check-in to see if how impactful it's been and helpful, or are there anything else that they would see that we can improve on?
Carol?
We've done that for Spanish language candidates, and for consumers, we haven't done it yet, but it's something we can look into.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else from committee members? David, check to see if there are any members of the public who have comment.
No public comments.
All right, thank you very much. Our next item, number 2, develop regulations to require licensed contractors to complete continuing education pursuant to existing complaint disciplinary authority. Next slide. The next strategic plan item we are going to cover is 1.3, develop regulations to require licensed contractors to complete continuing education pursuant to existing complaint disciplinary authority. For this item, CSLB's regulation manager, Tracy Brazil, has begun a regulations package to update the California Code of Regulations, Section 870 and 871. The process to obtain final approval from the Office of Administrative Law takes approximately 2 years. Staff will provide updates during future board meetings. Another goal is to expand upon CSLB's important links webpage that lists trade associations and create a new page with training available to contractors. Staff are drafting a survey for this in conjunction with the next strategic planning item, and a draft will be shown to the committee at the end of the discussion of that item. Any comments from committee members on this? All right. David, anything from the public?
No public comments.
Thank you. Next, item 3, assess exam content and update as necessary to ensure exams are current with industry standards. The next strategic plan item to discuss is 1.5, assess exam content and update as necessary to ensure exams are current with industry standards. I will have Carol give you an update on this item. Carol?
Thank you, Jim. I'd like to give you a picture of where we are now with this item. The Exam Development Unit, EDU, currently updates every exam every 5 years. Staff work with subject matter experts, known as SMEs, at every stage of the process and assess the item bank and item statistics to make decisions about each item bank. For example, this week we have active licensed contractors in the C20 HVAC trade, the C29 masonry trade, and the C22 asbestos abatement trade coming to exam development workshops here in headquarters. Updating an exam or item bank includes the following steps. Staff conduct job audit interviews with active licensed contractors in the trade and relevant government agencies such as Division of Occupational Safety and Health when we're talking about the C22 asbestos abatement exam. We do this to determine the tasks that contractors are performing the trade and what they need to know to perform the work successfully. From those interviews and meetings with contractors, staff create an occupational analysis survey that is sent out on SurveyMonkey. It is sent to either the entire population of the trade or a sample of 3,000 active licensed contractors in the trade if there are more than 3,000 licensees. And many of you have probably already seen these surveys pop up in your email for all the trade classifications you hold. The results of these surveys are used to create the exam plan. The exam plan is shown on the study guides and tells candidate what percentage of the questions will cover planning, safety, installation, repairs, etc. A more detailed version of the exam plan that includes those tasks and knowledges on the survey is what our exam specialist and the SMEs use to build the item bank itself. The exam specialist hold a series of meetings with the SMEs to review the existing items and make changes based on the item statistics. They write new items and then set the pass point or cutoff score for the bank. The SMEs will also check the references for each item at this time using laws and codes, trade association materials, and in some cases textbooks. Then the exam specialists create the new study guides and create versions or forms of the exam to send out to the test centers, again, based on those item statistics. After the new bank is created, it's not just a static thing that isn't touched for 5 years. Staff actively work in the bank, downloading and reviewing statistics, updating items, and conducting code review workshops every 3 years when the new building codes and plumbing codes and electrical codes are released. The exam specialists work with active licensed contractors in the trade at every single stage of the process. Exam specialists have the statistical and test building side of it, and the SMEs have the trade knowledge. By working together, they build a better exam. EDU has used SMEs for 25 years to help build and improve our exams, and staff are always glad to welcome new volunteers and encourage active licensed contractors to take part in job audit interviews, workshops, or both. Much of the exam specialist work is related to that statistical analysis. They analyze the survey, the item statistics, the bank statistics, and the version statistics, all to make decisions about the exam content. All of these statistical analyses are used to make decisions about the exam itself, and CSLB hires people as exam specialists who have that specialized statistics background so they can effectively do the work. This next slide, slide 11, is going to show you which exams were completed in 2024. So I'll give you a minute to look at that and see everything they've done. The slide after this shows what we're working on right now in 2025. So these are the workshops we're currently doing, currently working with contractors to develop, and some of them have already been released.
That's just a clarifying question on the slide. So this is, I understand this as well. We've got plan, I see asbestos certification. What about the hazardous material removal certification?
We just did it a couple of years ago.
Is that right?
And so what happens is we have 48 different exams, and we have 6 exam specialists. So all of the exams are on a 5-year cycle, such that in 1 year we do this set, and the next year we do this set, and the next year we do this set. Spread it out that way so that every exam gets touched, worked on every 5 years. Sometimes a little shorter than that if we could get ahead, but that way we know that every single one was taken care of. So that's why we're not usually moving them out of order, so that we don't have one that we're concentrating on and then something else gets pushed back beyond that 5 years.
How do we know if that hazardous material certification is it kept up with what's happening with the wildfires as an example? Do we look at the pass rate? Do we reevaluate any of this during that 5-year window?
Yeah, that's what we're looking at, those statistics.
You probably don't know it offhand, but what is the pass rate for the hazardous material removal?
I do not know it offhand. I haven't memorized all of them, but we do look at that. And what happens too is sometimes the scope of the trade expands, but the definition of trade is not expanded yet. So that's something that we may want to look into in the future if we're going to be using HAZ more for this type of purpose. Because at the moment, HAZ definition is more for removing underground soil storage tanks and the soil that goes with it. So we build the exam to cover the content that is in the definition. It may be something we want to look into with regulation.
What would you call it? What do you look for a pass rate for some of these? Because I'm not sure what last time we did drywall, but it's been pretty low. It's been around 20-something%. What is a good pass rate for a trade exam?
It would depend on the trade because a lot of factors will go into the pass rate. It's going to depend on how many people have taken it. Those pass rates that we have include people who've taken it again and again and again and again and again. So you have 5 people that took and passed it the first time. You have one guy that took it and failed it 10 times. So he is 10 points of that. He's counting towards 10 times. So we also look at the first time test taker pass rates, and that is often much higher than what you're seeing for our overall pass rates for the exams. Other factors include how complicated the work is, how hard it is to understand the reference materials that are required, things like that. But we do assess for plain language to make sure that the exams items are using simple wording and understandable language and made them easier to translate. We do use trade terms and we do use trade materials and tools because that's what you need to know to do the job. But when it comes to verbs, if we're going to use plain language to make it understandable to people. We also look at the item statistics. If the item is too difficult after we pretest, we'll pull it out and put it to the side and look at it again later and then pretest it again once we fixed it. We're not going to leave a hard one on there. Does that help?
Yeah, I'm glad to see the drywall is up there.
Yeah, they're working on
But
it.
we need SMEs that are active in the industry.
We do.
Help us get a solid trade exam.
Yeah. You know, and strong SMEs who know their trade and are well versed in their trade and know the materials and know the references are our best asset for writing these because they're the ones that help us to get all that trade materials, to get the full scope of knowledge of the trade and help us work the best we can on the exams. So we do welcome people to volunteer and take part in these. Even if your trade isn't up there right now, there's more coming next year. And in fact, the next slide shows what we're going to be starting in 2026. That's on slide 12. Yeah, there we go. So that's what we're working on next year. That's what exam specialists are going to be tackling next year is all of these trades. So if it's something you're interested in, there's your opportunity to take part and or you will see surveys coming up in your email. Yeah. One thing that we would like to add in 2026 is to have stronger relationships with the trade associations. Currently, what staff depends on is SMEs who are already connected in the trade associations and tell us about them. The trade associations are oftentimes where we get our references from because they've set the standards. So currently, staff depends on SMEs who are connected to the trade associations for opportunities to learn about those references and other factors. Increasing relationships with the trade associations would increase staff access to reference materials and provide another avenue besides the SMEs that come to our workshop and doing web research to learn about the new and emerging technologies in the trades. So being able to interview someone in the trade association to find out more about that new emerging technology would be a wonderful thing. In order to, do you have another question, Dave? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sorry, I've got to do with the C7. I look at that and I know that that industry is changing. A lot of residential lighting, maybe under 100 volts. I just wonder if someone with the experience that committee member Joel Barton has could be a resource to make sure that our SMEs are up to date on what's happening into the industry. To what extent could a committee member like Joel Barton play a part in helping us with this trade exam?
That is someone we would actually love to interview for this type of thing. Someone who's got that trade association connection and understanding or connections with what the training programs are and the unions are doing. So that's someone that the exam specialist would love to sit down and do an interview with, either virtual or in person, to talk about what is going on in the trade and the new changes that are happening. So this is something we really want to do, and develop more connections with those associations and with those training programs so that we can do those interviews and learn more about how things are changing in the trade and what sort of thing that you're having your new people coming in get trained in.
Yeah, that sounds great. Don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be more than happy.
All right. All right.
Henry Nutt has his hand raised. Henry, please unmute your mic.
Yeah, quick question. Regards to the surveys for the SME and getting that feedback, do you have a feel of what kind of percentage are we getting folks responding to the surveys? I know surveys are always tough for actually people responding and getting that feedback to us.
It does depend on the trade. We have had trades where we've had as little as 8%, but that's 8% of 5,000 people responded. So statistically, it's still a really strong number. We've had trades where we've had as many as 38% of the people that we surveyed respond. So it depends on the trade. Anything 10% or higher, and as long as we have a number of like 150 respondents or more, it gives us pretty strong statistics to base everything on. But we do encourage people to fill them out. I know they're a little long, and it can take a lot of reading, and it can take a little while, but the more input that we get from you people in the trade and from the contractors who are actually working this, the stronger those exams are going to be, because the stronger the statistics and the exam plan is going to be.
Yeah, I know that that's part of the issue with surveys, is they tend to seem to be very tedious, and you're asking folks who are probably working that happens at the time. So yeah, if there's anything that we, in regards to C20s and that, let us know. We can try to help with that. But I'm always curious if there's ways we can mitigate that by shortening them or lessening the numbers, or just kind of understanding like why folks aren't responding. Maybe we can figure out some better ways to raise those numbers for the low ones.
Yeah, it is difficult.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. So our next slide shows a survey that we'd like to do. So what we want to do is first survey the active licensed contractors in those trades that we're going to address in 2026, to ask them about trade associations. If you board members know more trade associations or other places that we could go to get more information about reference materials, or places that might want to interview with us, that would be wonderful. So the idea is to get a list of those, get contact information for those trade associations and other programs. And then once those are identified, survey those associations to find out more about the new and emerging technologies, about what references they offer, about what training programs they have, things like that. And that survey is on the next slide. Yep. So we would appreciate your input into this survey. As you read through it, are there other questions that we should be asking? Do you have other ideas for additional comment or content?
Any comments from committee members? Just for myself, Carol, there's a lot of really great information here, and I I speak on behalf of the Wall and Ceiling Alliance. We represent well over 100 contractors in all of Northern California. And we have a special division, technical division, and I spoke to them yesterday, and they're going to reach out to you to set a time to actually talk about some of the emerging things in C9 and C35. So that really help. Yeah, they're going to be great. Any other committee members?
Do we currently know how Local 104 is supporting for the C20?
I do not. Oftentimes when SMEs come, they don't tell us if they're union or not, because they're coming because they're active licensed contractors. So I don't necessarily know if they're participating in a union or they're a member of a chapter.
Okay. I'll do some follow-up on that.
Yeah, but we'd sure appreciate their help if they're able to come.
Yeah.
Good. Any other committee members? David, anybody from the public?
No public comments.
All right, thank you. The next item is 4, identify and educate licensees on the need to maintain current certifications to promote proper installations. Next slide is 15. The last licensing and testing strategic plan item we are going to discuss is 1.6. Identify and educate licensees on the need to maintain current certifications to promote proper installations. Currently, there are many different types of certifications available. 2 certifications are CSLB specific. They are asbestos and hazardous substance removal. These are the only 2 certifications listed on the license record available to the public when they research a license on the CSLB website. There are also other government agencies' requirements like the Asbestos Contractors Registration required by the Division of Occupational Safety and Health for all C-22 asbestos abatement contractors, and the Locksmith Company license requirements to the Bureau of Security and Investigative Services that C-28 lock and security contractors must have. Additional certifications are issued by the trade associations. Next slide. Often the requirements for certifications are different from CSLB trade descriptions. For example, the state fire marshal has a sprinkler fitter certification, which covers duties listed under the C-16 fire protection trade. But their certification is for technicians who work for a C-16 contractor and not the contractor regulated by CSLB, and is only related to fire sprinklers. The C-16 trade also does other types of fire protection like installing underground fire mains and hydrants. Also, as illustrated by this example, often the certifications are for the employees doing the work and not necessarily the contractor. Another example is the elevator certifications through Cal OSHA. They cover elevator mechanics and companies, but only for industrial and commercial elevators. They are not required for residential wheelchair lifts, which some C11 contractors specialize in, are not part of this Cal OSHA program. In addition, there are trade association certifications, which are optional for contractors, but can demonstrate specialized knowledge or skills. Next slide, 17. Staff recommendations are to create a survey for a sample of active licensed contractors in each of our trades, asking about the certifications for different trades, both government required certifications and optional certifications that apply to their classification. Wording for this survey is on the next slide. Please review and provide any suggestions you have for additional questions. Additional recommendations for this item are: add a notice to the issuance letter that additional certifications through other agencies might be required for their work. Add information about possible certification to trade study guides, and possibly add certain certifications to the license page. Any comments from committee members? David, anything from the public?
No public comments.
All right, next slide is 18. This concludes the licensing and testing update, and Public Affairs Committee meeting will immediately follow. Thank you.
Did we need to look?
So now let's adjourn that meeting.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
We adjourn?
Do we need to?
I think we still need to do a
I
couple.
think we need to motion to adjourn.
Gentlemen, would one of you like to motion to adjourn?
Licensing committee meeting.
for licensing committee, not public affairs.
Motion.
All right, thank you. Okay, now we can roll into public affairs.
Yes.
Was there a second on that?
Second.
Okay.
Very nice, in a second.